Okay, great. Welcome everyone. This might be a shortish meeting. Let's have a look at the agenda. We've got a section for introductions, talk about the donation of the AWS issuer, and a checkup on our progress towards the 1.3 release. This is probably the first time, well, it's the first time we've met Todd and Param. Thanks for joining. You've just introduced yourselves, so I won't ask you to do it again. First time, Ashley, you've joined us. Go on, Ashley, give us 10 seconds about yourself.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Hi, I'm Ash. I've just joined JetStack last Monday to work on cert-manager as part of the cert-manager team here. Cool. So yeah, lots of history with MTLS and TLS, and looking forward to getting stuck into it all. I've done a little bit already. Currently struggling with Bazel, right? I've managed to bend Bazel to my will. I've got my first actual feature ready to raise a PR for soon. Nice.
Yeah, so everyone out. Oh, we've got a new joiner. Hello, Micah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Micah.
And
hi.
We just started, and we're just doing some introductions. Most of us here are from JetStack, except for Param and Todd, who are from AWS. What about you?
Sorry, my pager's going off. Yes, I'm also from AWS.
Ah, okay, great. And we're going to talk about the AWS issuer shortly. Okay, so that's the introductions over. Then we should dive straight in to discuss the donation of the AWS issuer. I'm not too familiar with it. I remember we did have a discussion about it. It was an internal discussion at one of our stand-ups. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago, but perhaps I should hand over to Todd. If you could tell us a bit about the issuer and what you propose.
I will let Param speak.
Param,
I'm
sorry. Okay.
Are you able to? You're muted if you're talking.
Still muted.
Yeah, I can jump in too. So I've been working with Param on this. So there's this external issuer for Amazon Private Certificate Authority. And we would love to be able to, help contribute to that. We have a lot of AWS customers who are using it and interested, and we didn't want to just, start one from scratch. We wanted to, be good citizens and help with a community project. But we also want to be able to help with a project that has just, community governance that's not owned just by a single individual. We explored could AWS adopt this project, but just because of a big corporation owning the project, it's not easy for us to add external contributors as maintainers. And so we didn't want to just take it over in that sort of fashion. So this seems like the next, the best sort of option here to have it be owned in the cert-manager community, sort of be under community governance and oversight, but still allows us to contribute and the original author to contribute as well. So we've worked in the past with the Kubernetes organization in donating external projects, and yeah, they've had come up with the process with the CNCF, and I think I linked that in that ticket, and they have some requirements around the licensing and if was a previous license, getting everyone to sign off on that. But this one should be pretty simple. It's Apache 2. The only committer is the current owner. And the, so to me, it's probably going to be straightforward. Whatever's slightly different about cert-manager, obviously, than the Kubernetes organization, we can change. But I think, in my mind, it should be the process just needs to be sort of designed, but that this
Right.
shouldn't be a major issue.
Well, I'll tell you what I remember of the conversation. We have just about we're in the process of donating cert-manager to the CNCF. So that's in motion at the moment. We haven't completed the move. We're moving the cert-manager code to its own separate organization, for example. Another point that was, just going to, Param's joining again. When we've talked about when other people have offered to donate their external issuers to make them part of the cert-manager repo, is that what you're proposing, by the way? Are you simply proposing putting the project under the cert-manager organization, or
That's
would
right.
you?
Yep.
Okay, so you're not proposing making it a built-in issuer. It would remain
That's
an
correct.
external issuer. I see.
That's still an external issuer, just the code being owned by the cert-manager organization.
Okay. So that sounds pretty reasonable. The only other thing I remember from our conversations was that the trouble with the external issuers is that we find that people write them and then there's no infrastructure in place to regularly test them. So they sort of go stale. So the thing we were wondering is how we might set up automated testing for this issuer and whether AWS might be able to provide some resources for that.
Yeah, that's definitely something we'd be interested in contributing, like human resources in terms of staffing, like maintenance of it, as well as technical, whether it's testing resources or whatever. Yeah, that's definitely something we'd be interested in. The question I have around that today, I know, so Kubernetes has its prow infrastructure, and they do actually use that. They use that for Kubernetes, own things, but I think there are a number of projects that are not, that are other CNCF projects that leverage Kubernetes prow. Is that something you'd be interested in, or is that?
We do use prow already.
Do you use your own installation or the Kubernetes prow?
We use our own installation.
Okay.
Jake, you're in the process of dealing with the move, aren't you?
Yeah, so we use our own at the moment, and we're going to, as part of the move, we're still going to host it ourselves, but we're going to spin up a separate one, because right now we have one prow that looks across all of the JetStack org and the cert-manager org. But yeah, as part of separating concerns, as we move cert-manager to CNCF, we'll have a separate prow, but we'd still be hosting it, I believe, because sandbox products don't get that much help from the CNCF in terms of hosting infrastructure.
Yeah, having set up prow myself, I understand the work involved. I'm on the EKS distro team, so we have our own installation of prow, and I know what's involved there. I don't know. I mean, I can't commit to anything right this second about funding or anything, but that's definitely, I would be surprised if that was a blocker on our side. That's definitely something we want to make cert-manager and this issuer first class. So again, not an external issuer, but top quality. So that's something that we would definitely be interested in looking into.
I had one or two. So another point I remember us talking about was we'd certainly be willing, and we would be grateful to add a link to your issuer to the main cert-manager documentation. So that'd be one of the first things we could do, wherever it's hosted. And then the other point I was going to make was that I don't know whether there's any legal implications for accepting other code other than JetStack cert-manager into the CNCF project. I just don't know what's involved there. Does anyone know that?
The person to reach out to on the CNCF side would probably be Chris Ironcheck, because he sort of helped Kubernetes come up with the process that they have, and that's the one that's outlined in that I linked in that issue.
Okay.
And one of the steps is list of dependencies and then ping Chris.
Okay.
So Chris on the CNCF side would be the person to probably just write an email to say, hey, we want we want to adopt a project. It's Apache 2 licensed, single author. It's always been Apache 2 licensed. We are thinking we can adopt Kubernetes process. Do you have anything to say about this?
Oh, and Josh. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Micah. Thanks for explaining that.
Maybe if I could just jump in really quickly.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I guess it's already been talked about. Like, one of the main reasons why external issuers are even a thing is that very quickly we understood as a project it became unfeasible basically to support like any number of issuers above 5 for testing reasons, for domain specific knowledge. CAs behave very differently. So that's why these kind of external issuers are a thing. I think, like, in principle, I don't disagree with moving it into the cert-manager org. I think it just needs to be very clearly labeled for people who work on cert-manager full-time. Like, they might not necessarily have AWS domain-specific knowledge. So, yeah, making sure that there are people that are reachable that can help maintain it, I think is really important.
Didn't we talk about... We talked, I remember, about perhaps coming up with some sort of certification scheme where we would say we will accept an issuer into the organization if it meets certain criteria, like it has its own well-maintained testing infrastructure and it has at least X maintainers. And so perhaps, I don't think we made any progress on that, but that might be something we need to bring forward.
I think the conformance test suite
Yeah.
was the thing for that. Like, it's a nice idea, but again, like, CAs behaved very differently, and yeah, they might not all pass conformance.
I don't actually see any tests in this code base at all. I don't know how mature it is right now.
I don't know. I think this is something that we just saw that was a good option. I don't know that it's necessarily up to, like you're saying, it doesn't maybe have the conformance testing that it needs at this point, but that's definitely something we want to help invest in.
Okay, well, we need to respond to the issue. And I'm not write some notes on this discussion and give you some feedback on the issue. Sorry, I don't think we have yet. I'm sorry about that, if that's the case.
That's fine. And one other question I have too, kind of organizational question. I'm also on the Kubernetes product security committee, like the vulnerability response team. So a question that I have too is just about, like, what is the vulnerability sort of response procedure for cert-manager or other projects within the cert-manager org? Is there one? Is there like Kubernetes has a distributor list for, vendors who are CNCF or, CNCF Kubernetes conformant, and they can get advance notice of, critical issues or such, or specific projects have, their code owners can get notified. And I'm kind of wondering if there is a process here, if that's something we can help come up with. But I just wondered if you could comment on that.
I'm not aware that we have one.
I think there is a note in the documentation somewhere, but I'm struggling to find it. It probably does need looking into, improving.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's something we don't have to discuss that all right now, but that's something that we can, just having participated in the Kubernetes process quite a bit on that, that's something we could help, put together here.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to raise, and like the distributor side is not something that I'd really thought about. We're the distributor, but we're not anymore, and there's plenty of other people doing more with cert-manager, and I think we need to be aware of that. Do you know if given that we are a CNCF sandbox project, we would be able to use the Kubernetes distributor list? Because I assume it's most of the same people, right? Or does it not work like that?
No, it'd be a different process. I think you'd have to come up with your own list. Okay. Like you'd want to, probably just have folks who like Core DNS has modeled their own process almost identically after the Kubernetes process in terms of distributors, but they have their own list.
Right.
So, you can model it closely after that, but say like, that way you're also sort of capping who's distributing this. Like if someone isn't a distributor, then you're not having to worry about that. About, you know, leaking it to the wrong folks at the wrong time. And again, that distributor list kind of really only comes up for the more like server side hosted environment, for severe, you know, critical or severe issues. So that's kind of where that fits in. But yeah, if coming up with a security process for just the cert-manager org is something that we can also help with, I think that could be really, that's something that we have experience with and would be happy to contribute to.
Yeah, I think we probably need to take a look at the whole thing. Like, I think that we have there's a written down somewhere, like security notification process. Like if you find a security bug in cert-manager, do this. We probably just need to check that to make sure that the list of those people is up to date and things like that. But we can swing into action in that case and do those things. But yeah, the distributor part is something that we do need to consider these days. And it's not just, oh yeah, we get the fix and we push it out and we you know, get a CVE, etc. We also need to take into account of that. So I think your expertise would be very, very valuable there. Could you maybe create an issue and like link to the core DNS process or something like that, just to kind of give us a place to start the discussion? That would be really useful.
Yep. Yeah, I can. Very happy to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's really useful. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, so I hope that has answered most of your questions. Anything else you'd like to discuss with us before we move on to the next item?
I think that's all I had. Did anyone else from the AWS side have any questions?
None from me. Thank you.
And none for me either. Thank you.
One thing as regards the testing, I did some work on a sample external issuer, which is kind of supposed to be the prototype for new external issuers. So I wrote some there's examples of unit tests in there, and in cert-manager now there is an example of us running the conformance tests against that external issuer. So that'll be a place to look when you get to that point.
Oh, I did have one other quick question too. I know I'm not familiar with all the legal aspects of this, but I know that Kubernetes has the CNCF CLA requirement on you know, contributions of code, pull requests. Is that active on this cert-manager org?
We just have DCO sign off.
Okay.
We don't have the full CLA because we don't need it.
Got it. Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, great.
Okay. Well, thanks. We've got two new members here during that discussion. James Westby is our product manager, and Matt Bates is co-founder of JetStack. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Everyone.
Okay, so the next item for discussion is our progress with the 1.3 release. Jake, would you lead the discussion here?
Sure. So just wanted to check up on how we were doing, because our cutoff date, well, we want to release version 1.3 on April the 8th. So I think we set a cutoff date for April the 4th, by which we should have like a final beta that everyone can test. So yeah, I'm just pulling up the milestone, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say screen share.
So it's a bit awkwardly shaped. So yeah, how we're actually 48% complete, which is nice to see. And should we just go down? Should we just go down the list, or does anyone have anything they want to bring up, like, urgently?
The 48% complete, was that a lot of that was to do? Was it to do with the moving of the repo and preparing for
No
that?
problem. Bye.
Okay, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
So actually, a lot of the moving tickets are not closed. They're just because they're on hold until we get the legal sign off. So I think a
Right.
couple of it. If we look at
Maybe just have a look at what is complete, because I haven't got it in my head. Okay. Okay.
a lot of things that I recognize from just random, because I went through late last week. I went through a GitHub PR blitz and merged a bunch of community PRs.
Cool.
I don't think, most of the stuff that we put in is still outstanding.
Right. Okay. Let's go through those then.
Yeah, I guess we'll split down the list in for the rest of the meeting. So create an official and verified cert-manager package. I saw that Mail picked this up a couple of days ago.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, yes. I'm working on it, and there is good progress. I have a plan, but I don't like it. It's going to take some time because of the infrastructure implications. It's tiny things, but it's going to take some time to get in touch with Z and so on.
Okay. Transition Renify Cloud outage. No one has picked this up, but I don't think that'll be too difficult.
I think I'd planned to look at that once we had the TPP system set up, and it sounds like we have got that now. So I might have a look at that this week.
And this one, the multiple certificate request object,
The famous one.
race condition.
That just needs, I think, to be rebased in another LG. Looks good to me, I think, because
Because a lot of us have had a quick look at this. Cool. So that's a easy one then. Oh, it wasn't easy, but it's easy to enter the milestone.
oh yes.
Sanity check for not before and not after dates.
I've got some feedback from James Munley which I need to address. I might just limit the scope of that pull request. Some of the tests James didn't agree with, I think, so I might just go with the ones which were uncontroversial and get that merged.
Cool.
Oh, I'll take a look also. Just interested.
Okay, there's a couple of API version 1s, and people are starting to moan in Slack as well as they update to Kubernetes 1.20, and then API server starts spitting out deprecation warnings. So I saw that this is a CA injector one, but there's also a ingress one somewhere. Oh yeah, it's just here. Ingress and CA injector. Actually, I did want to. Someone mentioned another API in Slack, but I couldn't remember whether we had it in or not. Yeah, RBAC. Has anyone heard of that? If not, we'll have to make a third issue, and it will have to be in there at the same time. The RBAC I think it's in our Helm chart, that the RBAC is using the V1 beta APIs, which have started to show deprecation warnings as well. I might put in another issue for that. I'll leave it open so that I remember. Again, I think those are quite easy, but we need to just do it and test it.
Is that all? Changing to the V1 APIs will be compatible with Kubernetes 1.16.
So the reason all of these didn't go in earlier is because of the support back to 1.11, and now we've ditched that. We can rip out all the beta APIs.
Right.
So yeah, that's those two. Yeah, they're assigned to Marcia, but I think we should just pick them because she's probably busy.
Yeah.
Order gets stuck on failed. This is what you wanted to work on after merging your data for certificate tests, isn't it? Mail.
Oh yes, yes. So sorry. I resumed working on this yesterday night, and I have something that will work as soon as I'm done with the marketplace because I'm working on this. Well, yeah, I think it's going to be merged it is going to be inside the 1.3 thing, and Josh Soref is going to be happy.
Mirror to GCI. I was going to do this. And as part of this is also Richard's point of there's no reason why we shouldn't just have the Docker container tarballs as release artifacts. Might be helpful for someone because you can just Docker import the GitHub release if you don't want to pull from a registry or something. We can just mirror them everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't picked that up yet, but I will. Acme checking order status periodically when challenges are valid to avoid stuck orders. Does anyone have any?
I think I started looking at this, but yeah, I didn't continue.
Well volunteered. Should I sign you or?
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. This is interesting.
Unless
Did I? Yeah, I answered.
Yeah.
But please pick it up.
I mean, no, if you started working on it already, you can.
No. I just I just took a look and wrote what I had in my mind.
Cool.
Cool. Basically, I just want to see if people are going to pick them up because it's all interchangeable. So if someone's like thinks they have too much or thinks they won't get done, then just shout it. Where are we? Policy. And think we've spoken a lot about this in the last 3 weeks. So I think that's going well. Do you have any blocking PRs or blocked PRs? Josh? Muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, I just went ahead and added milestones to all the active PRs that need to be merged to 1.3.
So it's on us to review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fixed part. Oh, I don't know why this has failed actually. I tried to merge this the other day. But yeah, this failed some conformance test. Basically, we're using a slightly outdated version of the static Distributor List image. And all they did was change the chart. But I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't merge when I tried to merge it. So it says DCO failed, but then if you look at their commit message, it is signed off. So I don't know why it failed. I didn't want to force merge it, basically. Anyway, I'll look at that again at some point before the milestone ends. Issue observed generation. This is adding observed generations to the status field so that you know whether the status you're looking at is out of date. I believe. And it looks like it needs a review. Is that about it?
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here.
Sorry, I just If I've looked at it recently, then I'm just blasting through it because I know what it is. But the context is when we update statuses, someone comes along and looks at the next, like it will trigger a reconcile for someone else probably, and this lets you know which version of the object that status applies to. So, because if you update the spec, you also update the generation.
Oh, it came from someone who was trying to. No, sorry. So we already did this. Did this for the certificate request, right?
I don't know. I assume so because people haven't complained about it.
Because I remember that we were trying to fix someone's like they wanted to know when the certificate request was actually, or certificate, I can't remember, was actually being like done issuing. And so we added this object generation for them. Is that correct, Josh?
Sorry, I've been really distracted by GME. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, okay. I need to stop looking at that. Fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Are you rich now?
No.
Do you want me to?
So look at the stock price. It's completely distracting me. Yes. So someone wanted to understand the be able to get the observed generation of the spec on a certificate. And now we're just adding it to the issuer resource as well.
So, why are we doing this?
Why does the observed generation field exist at all? Or
are we trying to solve I'm trying to. Is it because we want the API to look similar on every object, or?
Yeah, so it's for consumers of this API are able to tell whether the current status of the resource matches what was actually input. So they can tell whether the like cert-manager reconcile loops has actually acted on the current spec or not, or if it's like a stale status condition.
Yeah, it makes sense because I think it's a good practice to have that. Otherwise, you can't know. You can't know. Yeah, that's a good
exactly.
Point.
Yeah.
So let's add that to all objects then.
So I mentioned this morning. I didn't add it to, and I've written it here. I didn't add it to the certificate request resource because the certificate requests are immutable. So it doesn't really make any sense because the observed generation is always going to be 1. And the order and challenges don't have the same conditions. Like they use a completely different syntax. This like predates the
we don't have
standardization of conditions upstream in Kubernetes. So they're like completely bespoke. So either we don't add the observed generation at all, and because people don't really consume those APIs very much, or we completely change how the order and challenges status looks, which is also equally valid in my view, but not part of this PR. And I don't know if it's whether something we want to do for 1.3 or not.
So let's recap. Right now we have certificates and issuers for this in this PR that will have the observed generation on each condition. We don't have, aside from that, we don't have the observed generation on the certificate request because it doesn't use conditions and it's, as you said, bespoke.
No. The certificate request does have conditions and it does have it in the same syntax or the same kind of API spec, but the spec
sorry, it doesn't make
change.
sense. It doesn't make sense because there won't be a generation change anyways.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
But the tools that the original bug report was about some sort of deployment tool that generally checked that the status, the condition observed generation matched the metadata generation.
Yeah, exactly.
So shouldn't even though the certificate request is immutable, shouldn't we set that observed generation of the certificate request anyway? Just for consistency.
Yeah, I'm not too opinionated either way. We can add it if you want.
Yeah.
It is just bloat effectively, but don't mind bloat.
Didn't I hear
it
someone
doesn't-
say that we thought that certificate requests were immutable, but they turned out they were actually, that the validation didn't actually prevent that?
Correct, but they will be as of 1.3. The
Okay.
user info field changes that PR makes them immutable.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Now I need to sell my shares.
This is going to be immortalized in our meeting recording.
That's fine.
Right. Yeah. Policies this we just talked about over the last few weeks, so I'm going to skip that. And this is the certificate request approved condition, which I guess is exactly what we just talked about as well with the policy, not with the observed generation. Again, this is for us to review, right?
Yeah, I think there's some more comments that I need addressing, or maybe this one I've addressed.
Yeah, there are a couple of comments.
Yeah, we talked about this in the stand-up this morning as well. I guess that in terms of progress, this is good. I think once the policy stuff is merged, we should just cut an alpha regardless, because it's substantial new features, and it'd be nice to have it out there. Remove package issuer in favor of individual controllers. I remember this one being fairly massive, but you got it to pass all the tests.
I did like a quarter. I think I've reviewed a half of it, and I need to go back and review everything, I think.
Yeah, because it's a big one.
I think I'll probably split it up, even though it's a massive pain. I just need a number of hours and lots of coffee, I think. It's a bit of a labor-intensive job rather than
and you get a lovely merge conflict at the same time because it touches everything, so it's guaranteed to be merge conflicted.
I have a feeling that's going to get pushed back. Okay.
That's the only thing in the milestone that I think will get pushed, which means that our planning was good. Because yeah, user info field. We've been talking about this again. Yeah, you've made certificate request immutable. Anything to update apart from we should? Oh, I see. Hervé's done some recent reviewing, so yeah, we'll do more reviews.
So what was the often when I've suggested adding extra validation to things, it's come back that I can't strengthen the validation without breaking backwards compatibility. So doesn't the same argument apply when we make the certificate request immutable? I think it should be immutable. I'm in favor of it, but I just wondered whether that discussion had been had.
It always was. Like you never were supposed to change it.
Okay.
It was a surprise for me that it wasn't already enforced.
Has anyone seen anything that would break? Like, does anyone manipulate certificate requests?
If it does break, it should break, I think, to be honest.
I can only think of external issuers because we don't change it, and external issuers shouldn't change it, but they might do just because they did. We can just put a big release note saying that if you manipulated your certificate request, this was always undefined behavior, so that will not be
that will not work anymore.
cert-manager could just reject any certificate request with a generation number greater than 1, maybe. Maybe it's not necessary.
You could always have one failing and then you need like a second. No, I don't know.
Okay, well,
Wait, sorry.
thanks, Jake, for the for leading that, and thanks, Mail, for taking notes. Have we got anything else to discuss on that, or any other business?
We're done.
In that case,
Oh,
Ashley,
wait.
are you all right?
Oh, yeah.
You're coming up to getting up to speed on everything, and I mean, we could. I mean, have you had the opportunity to pair program with anyone, cert-manager, since you joined? Often that's what we do.
Do we want to stop recording?
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, no. I'm just wondering.
maybe this isn't appropriate for the stopping.